Hello and welcome. How important is the election in the Kurdish autonomous region of northern Iraq in determining the future for that population? The vote isn't expected to yield drastic results, but it does reveal growing divisions among the community. The Kurds are mostly a Sunni Muslim population with their own language and culture who live across Kurdish areas of Turkey, Iraq, Iran, Armenia and Syria. In the case of Iraq, there are around 5 million Kurds living in a safe haven north of the 36th parallel. About 2.5 million eligible voters in the region's three northern provinces, Erbil, Dahuk and Sulaymaniyah, will elect their 111-seat parliament and next president. For the first time, the coalition of the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, the PUK, and the Kurdistan Democratic Party, the KDP, two parties that have dominated the self-ruled region for decades, face a challenge from new opposition alliances. The Kurds had hoped to hold a referendum on a proposed constitution, but national authorities did not allow the plan to go through because of the Iraqi Arab view that it is an effort to expand Kurdish authority. Already adding to simmering tensions between the Arab and Kurd population, President Barack Obama has just publicly asked the Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki to be more flexible about sharing power and allowing provincial governments a greater role in decision-making. On today's program, we look at Saturday's Kurdish election and ask, how much of a catalyst for change is it in the autonomous region of northern Iraq? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Log on to livestation.com/AJE. You can enter the chat room and take part, and we'll welcome your phone calls into the show as well. Joining me for the discussion is Peshwaz Feyzullah from the Atlas Economic Research Foundation. He has a master's degree from the Graduate School of Journalism at Columbia University, and he's the editor of Jiraizadi.org, the Global Initiative's Kurdish website. Prior to this, he was the managing editor of Holati, the highest circulating newspaper in northern Iraq. Also with us is Jerry Weinberger, professor of political science at Michigan State University and an adjunct fellow of the Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C. He's just returned from 4 months of consulting for the American University of Iraq, Sulaymaniyah. Now, I want to welcome you both to the show and thank you for taking part in this discussion.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Peshwaz, if I could start with you and ask, from your perspective, what is the most important aspect of this election? I mean, if no one's expecting any major changes to take place, why is it that important?
Well, I believe one of the major changes that had happened in this election is that the fact that there are contenders to the presidency and also to the parliament seat of a non-traditional party backgrounds. For example, you have four contenders to the presidency, one of whom is an intellectual, one is a businessman, the other one is just an activist. So that is a change that we didn't see in the region before. In terms of the parliament contenders, the emergence of new, smaller and bigger groups that are presenting a newer view and challenging the authority of the two major parties are considered new changes that are promising towards a new era.
Now, we'll ask both of you more about that in a second, but let me also touch with you on this issue that if the current president of the region, Masoud Barzani, is expected to win, and if he does win, what chance is this for him to consolidate his power, to start making stronger decisions, because he's got that second mandate, if you like?
I believe he has a higher chance to beat all the other contenders for the presidency. That's according to all the polls and his history of ruling and his campaign and his legacy as a leader and his family and so on. I don't know what will change in terms of after the elections and how he will manage the region, but one thing is probably for sure is that this election will give him more legitimacy in terms of the fact that he's going to be elected by the people, not by the parliament, which will make him a stronger ground for ruling the region.
Validate his position, yeah. Jerry Weinberger, I want to welcome you in as well and ask you what we should be watching out for, what signs in this election that things might change down the road. And I guess, how would it change the relationship between Baghdad and the autonomous region?
Well, I think the most important thing to my mind is that the balance that existed between the north and the south of the country, between the PDK in the north and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan in the south, has been disturbed because one of the new lists is a breakaway wing of the PUK, and it could do quite well in the south And that I think relates importantly to the power of the presidency with the new election coming up with a popularly elected president. Unless the opposition is very successful, it seems to me that it will increase the likelihood of Barzani's increased power.
Well, we've got someone from Erbil on the line. Nihan, what would you like to ask?
Hi, good night, sir. How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks for being with us. What would you like to ask?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Mr. Riz Khan.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to welcome to your guests exactly in Jazeera. And from Kurdish people from Erbil, I would like to confirm that the old guys from your channel today we had an election for Kurdish VIPs, Peshmerga, and for the ministries also, because the date after tomorrow, we're going to make another election for the whole Kurdish in the region. So I just want to ask you your guesses about what's going to happen if our Kurdish parties again re-elected in the Kurdistan. So, and also this political situation, American government, they withdraw their troops from the whole Iraq.
Okay.
And what's going to happen?
Okay. Jerry, let me get you to pick up on that. Just from what we basically got from Nihan was, of course, he was saying that everyone's anticipating what's going to happen. But what could be the outcome, assuming, say, for example, U.S. troops pull out? How can it change the dynamic?
Well, a lot depends on how the issue of Kirkuk is handled in the aftermath of the election. Some people think that the issue has been inflamed in part because of the election, that the President Barzani bangs the drums of war at the time of the election. Now, sometimes that can get out of control, sometimes it doesn't. If it's true, then things look better because the issue of Kirkuk will be handled pragmatically by the president when the flames of the election have died down. That's my guess too. But yes, it's a dangerous part of Iraq now, and tensions could get out of control, especially given the fact that the United States is pulling back.
I'm going to ask you both to stand by. We've got to take a very short break here. As we pause, let me remind you can join the conversation with your questions and comments by logging on to livestation.com and entering the chat room. You can see the debates taking place in there. We'll be right back.